Love is in the air, everywhere I look around. Love is in the air, every sight and every sound. And I don't know if I'm being foolish, don't know if I'm being wise, but it's something that I must believe in, and it's there when I look in your eyes. Love is in the air.
Hello and welcome to the Deborah McMahon Show. I'm Deborah McMahon, and today we have a really exciting show, especially for those of you that have pets. Stop and think of how many pets you have, okay? Now, when was the last time that you really communicated with your pet? Today's show is about how to communicate with animals, and we are so blessed to have an amazing person on the show today. Terri Steuben is here. She's an animal communicator and a pet psychic, whichever one you want to look at. But from my personal experience with her so far, I have just been so amazed and so impressed at what she can tell me about animals, not only that she sees personally, but animals that you just mentioned the name to her of the animal, and she's able to tell you information. So enough of me, let's talk about her. Welcome to the show, Terri.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
It's great to have you. I'm just so psyched that we have an opportunity to talk. I'd like to first learn a little bit about you and where you were raised, where you grew up, and how you got into this.
Well, actually, I was born and raised in Colorado. I was born in Denver, and actually, I was born in Denver, but stayed there for only moments because I was actually living in the mountains in Kittredge, and we moved up to Granby. So I'm a mountain girl, and probably that's why I do the animal communication thing. I had one brother. My parents had a resort marina area, and I spent a great deal of time outside. So getting into the animal communication thing, it wasn't until I had always thought that I had spoken with animals before, and there was a woman out here that was teaching animal communication, so I thought, okay, cool, let's go to the class. So I went to the class and actually scared myself to death because I was very accurate. So I took another week class with this woman so that I could get the business part down, per se. And then at the end of the class, I said, do you think that I should actually do this for a living? And she shut the door. Everybody else had gone. And she says, if you don't, I'm going to come down there to where you live and I'm going to beat you with a stick. Because she says, you're better at this than I am. So from that point on, I just started doing it professionally. And I've been trying to help people understand their pets, help them understand that they too do it themselves. And the more people that we can let know that they do this, the better off I think our human and animals are going to be.
So I just think this is so great. You know, I think everybody that has an animal has a communication with them, but you know, the fact that you've actually honed that skill and tuned into it, and that you can actually, I think a lot of people have it with their own animals more, but the fact that you can just be with any animal and pick it up, that's just like amazing and terrific.
Well, actually, it's easier to do an animal that's, excuse me, is not your own, because you don't second guess yourself. Your own pets, you have a tendency to say, well, I know that about them, so this can't be right. But what happens is you get a feeling, you get a sense. It comes through all the senses. You feel something, you hear something. I hear voices. I think a lot of people do it, maybe don't admit it yet, but you can listen to them. I see things, I hear things. Occasionally I taste things. Some things not so good to taste, but every now and then it is all clues as to what's going on with the animal. And a lot of times, for me, I just need a name and where they live, and the information just seems to flow. So evidently it's something that is needed by the people, so I just try and feel the need.
So I have to be honest with you, I'm like so impressed with who you are just as a person, the energy that you carry, the beingness of who you are and the presence of who you are. And I know that you're the real thing, and that's really a wonderful gift for me just to be around you. It's just really impressive to me. It blows my mind.
Well, thank you.
So let me just get over that for a minute, because you know, I mean, I think that the fact that you connect with animals, which I love animals anyway, but that you are so aware and that you're spoken to. I mean, I think that's terrific. You know, I guess what I'm wondering is when you're spoken to, you're spoken to like in words, or is it just something that you just know?
It's a bit of both, actually. There are times that I definitely hear words, and I presume that's probably my spirit guides or somebody else's saying, make sure you say these words specifically. And what I do is I figure that I'm probably just the channel so that the people here can get the message that they need to get. And there are words that come through specifically a certain way. Other times it's a sense, kind of like a knowing, and I kind of try and describe to them what it feels like to me so that they can kind of understand. Like when I do, I do actually three things. I do animal communication, I do medical intuition is the term they have on it now, and I'm also a Reiki master. So I try and use all three things right now to help the animals. The medical intuition part of it more has to do with I feel things in my body, so I can tell people, or they can tell vets where the pain is, so hopefully they can diagnose better to allow the animal to heal quicker. So the idea is just to have the pets be happy. That's what I like.
What a wonderful thing. That's really a blessing. Now, obviously, this is something you've always had.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe so.
So I have to ask you this question, because what we do with our gifts, notoriously, gifts are gifts. I mean, it's something that everybody doesn't have. That's why it's a gift, you know. It's something
Right.
that you have that's enhanced in your beingness. So when you first realized that you had this, how did that feel? How did you handle that? I mean, it's not, you obviously at some point in time you picked up that not everybody was having the same experience as you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, actually, at first, right before I started doing it professionally, it scared me to death because I was previously I was in banking and property management, and how do you now go out and tell somebody, hey, I talk to animals, you know, ooh, Dr. Doolittle here, just call me up, you know. It scared me, and I had to deal with a lot of things of how do you address that, how do you communicate that to people. And as time has gone on, it's gotten to a place where I've just become comfortable in myself. And if people are open to it, great. You know, it's very beneficial for them and for me. And if they're not, it's okay. Pretty soon you're going to need something and I'll be able to help you with it. So it's an okay kind of thing for me. It takes a while to adjust with that. But then when I was a child, it was like I thought it was strange everybody else didn't do it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean you don't hear them? They just said. Yeah. So it's kind of funny that direction. But now I also have a dog, Maggie, who's very cute. She didn't realize that I did this as a profession. And when I brought her to the house and we started talking, and I said to her, I said, well, Maggie, I have to go to work now. You know, I have to talk to these animals and relate. And she looked at me and she says, well, why, Mom? You know, you do that here. And I said, well, not everybody can do that, honey. And she's like, oh, well, you better go, because there's a lot of work to do. So every time I come home, she does all the smells and checks everything out. And I have 3 right now, and between all 3 of them, every now and then I'll get a message from them when I'm someplace as well. They'll tell me that, you know, hey, tell her about this, or hey, say something about that. And so just about everywhere I go, they kind of crop up. And a lot of times before I come and do something like this, I go outside and sit by myself, and I just ask the animal world what they want me to say. And hopefully the right words will come out of my mouth, and the message will get across.
And they always do, right?
They usually always do, yeah. And when you see me, there's a crowd here. Always a crowd, yeah. Maybe that's why it's so calming, I don't know.
I love it.
A lot of us are right here right now, yeah.
That's great. That's wonderful. So one of the things that you said to me was that, like, everybody has the capability to do it.
Yes.
And, you know, that's true of gifts, I think, that we all have it all, but that you have the gift of bringing it through and sharing it so that other people can develop it. So can you kind of give people an idea of what it's about?
Well, say, for example, those of you who have pets, if you're sitting watching TV, and all of a sudden during the commercial you get up and you go, fill the water bowl, put it back down, go back, sit in front of the TV. How'd you know it was empty? They showed you a picture. Now, mostly what happens with animal communication is they watch the movie in your third eye. Now, the way that I can explain this to you and to everybody sitting at home is that when you were a child, you went to a lake. Now immediately what happens is you get a picture of a lake that you went to. Up here, shows right there. Now what happens is our animals are fortunate enough to watch the movie. That's why a lot of times our animals will see the picture and try and do it very quickly, and sometimes we help get them in trouble. Because what's the picture? Don't chase the car. Chasing the car is the picture. I've had 2 dogs that have stopped in the front of the yard when they heard the don't. They're like, okay. And it's not that they don't hear the English words. It's the, if you see a picture first, you go and try and do that. So they chase the car. Here's another one that's really helpful for folks at home, and you can just start it right off the bat. Be quiet. When dogs are barking, we usually say, don't bark. What's the picture? Bark. So we're actually teaching them to bark. So if we say to them, when my dogs bark, I always say thank you. It acknowledges what they've done. And then I say, be quiet. What's a picture of their mouth being closed? And then I say, okay. If they continue to bark and they're making a lot of noise, then I go over and say, show me. What are you barking at? And they always go, fine, can't show you. Well, I have an 8-foot stucco wall around my house, so they really can't show me. But they know when somebody's walking around. But those are the kind of ideas of things. That's what I do with people when I go and visit them, is I supply pictures for them. Because one that's really difficult is you get a puppy. If you don't know much about a puppy, they start walking around on the carpet. Okay, first thing they're going to do is they're going to pee, usually. Okay, you clean it up, and the next time they walk across that carpet and sniff at that carpet, what's the picture in their mind? They're going to pee right there again. So you're showing them to pee there. So they pee there, and then you yell at them. They're really confused, so then they don't understand. So what I do is I supply another picture, because it's like saying, don't think about a bear. That's about the only thing you can think about. So if I say to them, okay, you know you're going to have the picture of him peeing there. And I did this with Maggie, my own dog. What I did was, I had the picture, and then I said, do you have to potty? And she immediately stood up. She ran out the doggy door, around to the front yard on the grass knoll, which is the picture I showed her, and she went to the bathroom. So what we do is, if we can't stop the picture, we provide them with another picture, the one we want them to do. And then eventually what happens is the first picture just fades away. So what we're basically doing is we are retraining ourselves to help show them things we'd like them to do. And like say if you have a cat, a lot of people will wait, with the cat, particularly if they rescue a cat, and they visualize it walking over and jumping up on their lap. And they get so excited when this happens. But they don't realize what they did was they just showed them to come over and sit on their lap. So really a lot of this is all just whatever you think happens. It's thought, word, and action is the way that it happens. And they just, all of a sudden, they just start doing what you ask them to do. A lot of times I'll get things, I tell people when I go to visit them, if you have, ask your pet, let them know I'm coming. Because if there's something that they want to say, then ask them to bring it up. And then also ask them to make a list. Because what happens, I find, as soon as I get there, all the questions go right out the back of the head, except for maybe 1 or 2. So what they do is they start writing them down. Well, see, what's happening is they're writing them down. Your pet is watching the movie to find out what that behavior is. And a lot of times what happens is we'll go and we just start, because a lot of times the animals start before they do. And the questions end up being answered before they even look at the list, because the pets know exactly what they want them to have an answer to. And then also, of course, we do we go through the things of like, do you like your food? Do you like your water? You'd be surprised what some of these pets come up with to say. And some of them know how spoiled they are, which is very fun. I like the ones that are very spoiled. We have some good times with those. So that's kind of how it works with people.
That's so awesome. That's so amazing to me. I mean, it just makes perfect sense. It's like people, you really do this with everything, not just animals, but people. That's exactly the same thing that happens with people.
It works with people as well. Yeah. And every now and then when I'm someplace, I'll pick up something about them, that we can talk about for their own livelihood. Like something like a job is very stressful, and maybe I'm there to get a message. I had one client who I've seen a couple of times who had a cat she wanted me to come visit. Well, when I got down there, and I got the message before I got there that the cat was gone. I'm thinking to myself, oh great, what are we going to do? Sit here for an hour and talk, So I get there, come to find out, I could still talk with the cat, but the cat wanted me there to talk to her because she was needed to calm down. She needed to relax. She needed to enjoy her life a little bit more. So she and I chatted, and I've seen her several times since. But she's so very glad that she had this Sadie cat, is her name, that she came into her life, and total change around this person. The cat's just fine. She was just waiting for her mom to calm down, and now it's a total different world for her.
Amazing. Just amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So when you're really working with the animal and the person. It's not really just the animal. You're really working with
both. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with anybody being in the room, visitors, anything like that. It seems like the messages are just coming, and they're supposed to be given out to people. I know there's a lot of animal communicators out there, and they all work a little differently. Some need to have pictures, some need to be present, some get the information, then go by themselves, and then they do their meditation, then they get back on the phone. And with me, I'm very fortunate in that all you have to do is tell me a name and where they live, and pretty much stuff starts coming. You know, or if you have a concern, you mention it. Sometimes I don't even get a name, and I'll hear this voice, and I'll just start talking. So I'm very fortunate in that respect.
So I want to share, just because I'm sure everybody's going, okay, how's this like? I want to share my experience with you this morning, which was that I'm working with Feldenkrais, which is one of the things I do, with a horse that's in Indiana. And you said, what's the name of the horse? And I said, Levi. And you immediately told me exactly. And so just tell me,
replay.
Okay, so I just said Levi, and he's in Indiana, and this is what she told me.
Well, I said that there's a pain in the left. What happens is I feel the pain in my body, and in the left lower back there's some pain that emanates down to the leg, and there's also some in the left shoulder in the back side here. And it also has a tendency, it comes down, I don't know if it's the same vertebrae or the one above it. It's connected to the head, and the head is having trouble holding up. And then I also got an impression that maybe he smacked against the wall on the left side. But as you had said, they were concerned about putting this animal down. And I said, oh no, this can be fixed with a chiropractor. And then I know there are some things that they can do as far as healing muscle tissue, and they wrap certain areas. Now they may not be able to, wrap the lower buttocks, but they can do some things to allow the muscles to heal in there. And I think Levi will be just fine. I don't think there'll be any problem with Levi at all. Yeah.
That's great. Which is really amazing, because when I worked with the horse doing the Feldenkrais, that was almost exactly verbatim what I came up with as far as what I experienced in the horse's body. And it's just so amazing that you were able to pick that up with no information except the name. I just thought that was amazing to me. And so I guess I'd like you to share your favorite story of a case where you went in and worked, because everybody out there's wondering, tell us another story about
another story. Another story.
Stories are the great,
They are the fun part. Well, I have a friend in Amsterdam, Holland, and we did this one over email, actually, because I went and she emailed me she was having trouble because she moved the pet from the farmhouse into the city, and it wasn't working very well at all, and the cat was very distraught. So she emailed me, and she asked me if I would have a chat with the cat. And during the night, she saw a glow, but she didn't even think anything about it. And then the next morning, she emailed me, because their time zone is a little different than ours, and she emailed me that there was just immediate change in the cat, and that the cat was fine, and she could put it on a leash, take a walk down the street. Everything had just totally changed. Now, what happens when I go and talk to animals, a lot of times I try and visit them right before I see them in the physical body, because I have a huge aura around me. And what happens when they see me is they go, "My, you're little." "Okay, you're the one? You're the lady that was talking to us?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm the one." And they come over, and I have a lot of funny things happen, like the funniest story that I think I've ever had. This one woman, we were talking about this cat back and forth, and I kept getting this message, and I'm like, how do I say this? I don't know how I'm going to say this. And then all of a sudden at the end I said, "Okay, do me a favor, just don't shoot the messenger." And she said, "Okay." And I said, "Well, the cat has the pink panties." And she's like, "Oh my God." she turned about 6 shades of purple. I guess her husband had bought her one of those negligee outfits. And of course, you know, the first thing that goes to the bottom, and the cat took them. So she was very, very nervous about the whole thing. But it was so cute because when her husband got home, he called me and thanked me because the wife was so concerned about this outfit thing. He says, "I'll just go buy her a new one." So that's probably the strangest one that I've ever gotten. So let me tell you, though, nothing is sacred in the household when I come in because, you know, of course, the pets know everything. And every now and then, something will come up. I have a tendency to like the folks who are a little bit non-believer because a lot of times the pets are going to tell me something about them so that when I pick it up, it's like, by the way, this is, you know, like I had a gentleman where the socks were missing and they had gone to a friend on the other side. And the guy looks at me and he says, "How'd you know that?" And I'm like, "They just told me." And you know, those people are my best advertisement, so it's really kind of fun. It's fun. I have a good time with that. But then stories also, we have wild animals, and every now and then I get a chance to talk with them. Their agenda is totally different than our domesticated animals. Of course, they're worried about food, shelter, and the food chain, who they have to watch out for, what's going on. But I really get a kick out of the crows that are in my neighborhood. Because, you know, you're walking along and all of a sudden flying over your head, you hear this, "How's it going?" And it just startles you every now and then, you know, because it's like you're not used to somebody being over the top of your head. So it's like, "How you go? How's it going?" And I'm like, "Well, it's going good. How's it going for you?" And they're like, "Okay." And the thing that's neat about a crow is if you see one crow, there's 650 to 1,000 in that neighborhood because they watch. They're like the map readers of the sky. And every now and then you'll hear a little noise from a little crow, and then if you sit and you wait, all of a sudden there's a car drive by. So it's like they let the chain know all the way down. And it's also fun with crows and with all the birds that are out there because whenever I get lost when I'm driving someplace, and every now and then I'll make a wrong turn, I look up at the light pole and I'm sitting there looking, and there's always a bird facing this way. I'm usually in the right-hand lane. You know, I got to make a left-hand turn. But they're always there to guide me in the direction that I need to go, which I find is very, very comforting. And I've told this to several other people, and they've seemed to find the same thing, that they know that when they get lost now, they just look up, and then the birds tell them which direction they need to go. And it works all the time for me. And whenever I'm out someplace, you know, squirrels, I see squirrels. For some reason, I always call squirrels Sam. I have no idea why. But they'll stop and they talk, and I go, "Well, how are you?" The other day I went to the park and saw all the ducks and the geese, and it's just so comforting to me because the energy that comes from them is just so pure. It's so nice. It's so comforting. They don't have the stress that a lot of our domesticated animals have because, of course, we all go there and feed them. You know, but I had a situation with, we took a pit bull and we were getting it socialized with animals, and we happened to take it to a park in Huntington Beach that had a lot of these big, huge geese running around there. And as we were walking up, we put the dog in a certain place, and I said to the person I'm with, I said, "Just a minute." I said, I have something I have to do. So I walked back about 4 or 5 feet. All of these geese come up to me, and they just started chattering, and they were all right in my face, and they're all telling on each other, and I'm like, "You stop it, you behave, and you don't have any say in this at all because you're the young one." And they all went, and they turned and they walked away. And the lady that was with me, she said, "I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it myself." And so I'm like, okay, well, it just works with all of them.
Amazing. So I have to ask you this question. When you talk to animals, are they ever shocked that you're talking to them?
No. No.
So are they really talking to us all the time and we just aren't listening?
Yes. Yeah. I only ran into that really once when I rescued the last Shih Tzu that we got. I had a sense, a shelter that I donate time to. I just got a draw to go down there, and it happened to be a day I was very tired. And I thought, "Oh, great, here we go. You know what, I'm kind of tired. I don't know that I'll be able to help." So I get down there, and this one lady calls me into the office, and she says, "I have something I want to show you." And they kept cat kennels in the front office. So she goes over there, and she pulls out this little black and white Shih Tzu. She holds it up to me, and she goes, "Do you see this?" And I went, "Oh, shit." She goes, Shih Tzu? And I said, oh, because we had just put one down about a year before that. And I picked up this little guy, and of course, you know, it just kind of kept in my arm, and I'm holding it, and they were talking about us fostering it. I'm like, I don't think we can foster it. No, I don't think we can. And this dog all of a sudden looks at me, and I was talking back and forth. He says, you can hear me? I said, yes, I can hear you. And I wasn't moving my mouth. We were just doing it telepathy-wise, and he says, smacks me on the chest. He says, I'm going with you, because these people don't get it. So I'm like, okay, and the next thing you know, I just walked out the door. She's been with me ever since. Yeah. So her name is now Olivia Grace. She's quite a heathen.
That is so wonderful.
Yeah. And every now and then, something that might be neat for the folks at home, every now and then I run into somebody who has a very special gift of a pet coming back to visit them again. And that's really neat, because they do the same things, they have the same behaviors, they know where grandma lives, those kinds of things. So just because your pet passes doesn't necessarily mean that your lesson with them is over. They might definitely come back. And then I also am very fortunate I can talk to deceased animals too, so that's very comforting for a lot of the folks who are still here. Something also that might be nice for the folks at home to know is that when an animal gets ready to cross, for them, it's like you or I taking off a coat. That's all it is, because they see all the energy things. They see the deceased people, they see the deceased animals. They understand all of that. It's only us humans that have the problem with that energy stuff. Cool. They don't have any problem with that at all.
Well, I can't thank you enough. Actually, I would really like to invite you to come on the show again with some animals if you're open to that, because
that would be great.
That would be really fun to do. So, Terri, I just want to really thank you for coming on the show. You're really an amazing, delightful person, and I think the work you're doing is just precious work on the planet. I'm really grateful to have met someone with such insight and intuition and awareness. It's just, I'm honored to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
So thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us today for this amazing information. And take the time to not only get to know your pet, but pay attention to the empty water bowl and the simple things that the pet might be sending you information about. So in closing, thank you, Terri Steuben, one more time for being such an amazing guest.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Have a blessed day, and give Rover a little extra attention, or the cat a little extra attention. They'll appreciate it. Thank you for joining us.
Love is in the air, everywhere I look around. Love is in the air, every sight and every sound. And I don't know if I'm being foolish, don't know if I'm being wise, but it's something that I must believe in. And it's there when I look in your eyes. Love is in the air, in the whisper of the tree. Love is in the air, in the thunder of the sea.